But it also led Cuba to open up to the world in search of a new source of income. Hello and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I'm exploring my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, one tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon. Bottle number 127 is Havana Club rum, probably from the 1970s. The real stuff, made in Cuba, not the product by the same name that Bacardi produces in Puerto Rico and markets only in the United States. The 1970s was an interesting time in Cuban rum. Cuba and rum go back a very long way. As I talked about in Bottle 58, Bacardi O, after the Bacardi Company was launched in 1862, they introduced a number of innovations to rum distilling that really changed what rum looked and tasted like. Its clear color and light-bodied style was a revelation, and it took the world by storm. Many cocktail recipes specified it by name. But even back then, Bacardi wasn't the only Cuban rum. The Methuselah Company, which I talked about in Bottle 62, Ron Coco, and Bottle 63, John Canoe, was founded in 1872. And in 1878, Jose Archibald y Aldama founded his rum company, which would eventually produce Havana Club. All these companies thrived during U.S. Prohibition when Americans went to Havana to drink and Cuban rum was smuggled into the U.S. by the boatload. In the beginning, the Archibaldas sold their rum under their family name. But in 1934, after Prohibition was repealed, they launched the Havana Club brand, a more marketing-friendly name that was easier for gringos to pronounce. The company was successful and grew, and some sources indicate that through the 1950s they were making more rum in Cuba than Bacardi. But those words "in Cuba" are really important for what happened next. Bacardi had been even more successful during the post-Prohibition and World War II period, and had expanded their production to Mexico and Puerto Rico. Their initial motivation for this had been business-oriented, not political, but it turned out to make all the difference. Because after Fidel Castro came to power through the Cuban Revolution in 1959, the government nationalized many of Cuba's key industries, including rum. The Archibald family had never expanded production beyond Cuba, so when their distillery and products were expropriated, they lost everything. The family fled the country. In the messy years that followed, they failed to renew the Havana Club trademark in any of the countries they had registered it in, including in the U.S., which would launch a decades-long battle over the name that's still going on. Thus, Havana Club became the name that the nationalized Cuban rum industry used for its products around the world. Everywhere around the world except the U.S., that is, whose economic embargo against Cuba that began in 1962 still shapes the country to this day. Most Havana Club exports ended up in the Soviet Union and other politically aligned Eastern European nations, but some did end up in other countries, and Canada was one of them. In the 1960s, Cuba was purchasing grain, beef, and other supplies from Canada. In 1971, they approached the Canadian government with a proposal to sell Havana Club in Canada to help put at least a small dent in their trade deficit. Havana Club returned to the Canadian market and was advertised heavily through the 1970s. At first, I thought that might be when and where Grandma's mini bottle came from. I found a Canadian newspaper ad from 1977 showing a cigar box filled with mini bottles of Havana Club that looked just like Grandma's bottle, and the slogan, "What we did for cigars, we're doing for rum." But by 1974, Canadian labels would have had both French and English and percent ABV. All the text on the shiny gold label on Grandma's bottle is Spanish, and the proof is in British degrees. Although it does say Ron Cubano Importado on the top, so it was imported somewhere. Online, I've seen bottles that look like Grandma's claiming to be from the 1960s, so I'm going to say 60s to 70s for this one. Trade with the communist bloc was crucial to the Cuban economy, but with the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, that market fell apart, and the country lost over 80% of its trade. This ushered in what is known as the Special Period, a time of severe economic and humanitarian hardship. But it also led Cuba to open up to the world in search of a new source of income, tourism. New markets also opened up for rum, as the Cuban government formed a joint company with Pernod Ricard in 1993 to market Havana Club all around the world. Despite not having access to the lucrative U.S. market, in 2024 it was the 5th best-selling rum brand in the world. Growing up in Canada, Cuba was the place that university students went to for spring break. I never did that. But I did visit in 2023 on a special tour organized by my local NPR station in Michigan. It was a really amazing trip where I learned a little about how Havana Club rum is made and a lot about the Cuban people and how they've been impacted by all the geopolitics that shaped Havana Club and led to Grandma's tiny bottle. It's been fun to revisit that trip as I was doing my research. I drank plenty of Havana Club on the trip, and since I'm in Canada now, it'll be easy to get a modern-day comparison bottle when it comes time to taste this one. Have you ever tasted Old Havana Club? Let me know your thoughts by leaving a comment below and subscribe or like while you're at it. You can also find me at mytinybottles.com or on social media at mytinybottles on Instagram and Facebook or at TammyLC on Blue Sky. I'd love to hear from you. Cheers!